I'm Carol Bacak-Egbo, historian for Oakland County Parks. Join me now for an episode of History in Our Parks. The Search for the Buhl Family Governess, an Addison Oaks County Park puzzle. In 1927, Lawrence and Cora Buhl built a summer estate on land that would eventually become Addison Oaks County Park. It included a beautiful Tudor mansion. At the time, they had 3 young daughters, Elizabeth Ann, Mary, and Cora. I investigated the blueprints for the mansion. I found on the second floor 3 children's bedrooms that had been designed for the 3 daughters. I also found a governess's bedroom. I was intrigued. It appeared that the Buhl family had a governess to help care for the children when the mansion had been built. I wanted to find out who that governess was. I started my investigation with the 1930 census, where I located the Buhl family in Grosse Pointe, where their primary residence was. I found, however, someone else living in the Buhl household. I knew that was the case because the dwelling numbers matched. That person was listed as a governess. I had located the governess. Her name, Martha C. Abertil. The puzzle was beginning to come together. But the 1930 census gave me way more information than her name. It showed me she was 38 at the time she was working for the Buhls in 1930. She'd been born in France. She had immigrated in 1919 to the United States. And that little PA, that was important information. That was in the naturalization category. And the PA stood for First Papers, which meant by 1930 she had begun the application process to become a United States citizen. More pieces of the puzzle. Next, I located a document from 1931, her certificate of arrival, which confirmed that she had immigrated in 1919, but it also told me the ship she'd been on, the SS La Savoie. That led me to the Ellis Island passenger search. I wanted to see if I could find out more about that ship, hopefully the manifest, which would list her as a passenger. I input her name, but no luck. She was not listed in the records. But then I remembered, Ellis Island has a button you can click to check for alternate spellings, spellings that are close to the name you put in. That's important because many immigrants' names were misspelled in the records. I tried that. Sure enough, Marta was there. The U in her name had been changed to an N. That led me to a photograph of the actual ship she'd been on, the La Savoie. More importantly, to the manifest, the passenger list, where she was listed. That gave me new information. She was listed as a teacher. She was 5 feet 6 inches tall, with black hair and green eyes. Important pieces of the puzzle. And then, in 1934, I found another passenger list. She was listed as sailing on the Queen of Bermuda. She was sailing from Bermuda back to New York City. She was listed there as a governess, and her address was 303 West 80th Street in New York City. Trace the address. It came to an apartment building, a fancy apartment building on the Upper West Side, one that even in 1930 would have been expensive to live at. I'm assuming by that time she'd left the Buhls and she was a governess for another wealthy family, this time in New York City. Important pieces of the puzzle. And then a document from 1936. This was a deposition. This was a form that was required for citizenship. Someone had to attest to your good character. And in her case, It was Lawrence Buhl himself. Even though she had left him his employ, it appears that he still was the one who signed for her good character citizenship record. He also added important information. She came into my employ as a governess in October 1927 and stayed until 1931. That was the proof I needed. It indeed was Marta Abruteo, who was the governess when the mansion was built. In 1936, later that year, she took the oath of allegiance and became a U.S. citizen. Important pieces of the puzzle. Next, I found her in San Francisco in 1944. She was working then as a bookkeeper. I have no idea why she crossed the country from New York to San Francisco. But I did learn, somewhere around 1945, she married Raleigh Dampier. They were both in their 50s. He was a widower who'd been married 2 times before. They were living in Gilroy, California. Important pieces of the puzzle. Raleigh died in 1949 and was buried next to his second wife, Grace, in Santa Clara Mission Cemetery. Marta died just 2 years later, in 1951. So far, I have not been able to find her in that cemetery. But she left me one final clue, her will, which she said, "I do declare that I am the widow of Raleigh Dampier, and that there were no children the issue of said marriage, nor have I ever had issue. I have no near relatives." It seems that Marta spent most of her life caring for other people's children. The puzzle had come together. Well, almost. There were still missing pieces. That's always the case when you're trying to put a puzzle from the past together. But I had learned a lot about the Buhl family governess. And for me, that bedroom on the 2nd floor, that is not the governess's bedroom. That's Marta's bedroom.